How do you define success? Because I know for me, I used to think of success as what you had in your bank account, how much money you make in your business, whether you have a big house, a fancy car. I thought that it was exclusive to a few people and it represented external wealth. And now I have changed my perspective on what success means. And so I wanted to share that with you because for a lot of the years that I had, there's so many different endeavors that I've done. And I never felt like a success in any of the ones that I've done. And so I think back now, and now with my new perspective on what I believe success is, and I can look at those memories as a huge success. Whereas before, because I didn't make the money that I thought I should, and it wasn't living up to what I expected success to be, I felt like a complete failure. And so I think that we need to change our perspective on how we define success. I'm Fallene, and this is your catalyst to grow. So, since I can remember, I was probably 11 years old or so. I had always wanted to be a fashion designer. I would draw collections and plan out fashion shows in my head when I was little. And finally, in 2007, I planned my first fashion show. And I did it because I really wanted to start sewing consistently and designing. So I thought, if I put the pressure on myself and plan a fashion show, then people would be there. So I need to make sure that I sew a collection. And I didn't want it to just be me. So I reached out to other designers, artists, and people that had expressed interest in, always wanting to design but never felt like they could, or always wanting to model but never, thought they could. People like that, I really wanted to provide an opportunity for them to shine and push them to do the things that they've always wanted to do. So 2007, we had a big fashion show at this little salon that I was working at as a hairstylist. And that fashion show was called Forever Darling, and I produced it from 2007 to maybe 2012. And I will never forget the one that I produced in 2009. That one was so interesting to me because here on paper, it was not a success. I lost a lot of money after the show. And in fact, it's so funny because during that show and after the fashion show, so many people were like, that was so much fun. How successful. What a great event that was. And it was incredible. It was so cool because there were so many people working together and collaborating under this one theme for that show. And they were doing some really fun, exciting, out-of-the-box type of art. For example, one of my clients, hair clients, she designed these beautiful flower bouquets at this hotel. And she had always expressed that she wanted to do more interesting, fun type of bouquets and kind of that were more artistic. So we thought, why not come up with some bouquets that are inspired by famous works of art. And so she made one that was like inspired by the Van Gogh sunflowers, and they were huge arrangements. The designers worked with her to then create their collection that was inspired by her pieces. Like, everybody was working together. It was a really cool show. And right after that show, I was crying because I felt like it was a failure. I didn't want to do it again. I couldn't believe how much money we lost. Like, I realized, okay, I'm going to have to work a lot more behind the chair so that I can pay for this show and be able to donate to that charity that we promised we would donate to. So I left feeling like a complete failure. Then in 2012, I planned a solo show. It was my first show that I had ever done where it was just my designs. And I had raised $20,000 on Kickstarter to basically fund my collection to be able to produce it locally in Denver. And I had sold out tickets. It was promoted, and in the local paper, I had, sold out a bunch of designs that I brought that night. Like, it was a success. What I had always thought success was. And I remember that night, my smart car loaded to the brim with all the stuff that we had to bring back home. And I felt empty. I was pretty sad about it. And I didn't really understand why, because I thought, here I finally made the money. I checked all the boxes for what I thought success was, but I'm still not happy. Like, what is that about? And I didn't know right away why I wasn't happy. It took years of understanding where that was coming from. So when I opened my salon in 2013, and I started to look for stylists at beauty schools, and I would train them right outside of, right from the start, out of beauty school. And anyone that has been to beauty school and came out knows that you don't really know anything out of beauty school. Like, it takes some time to actually know how to cut hair. And so working with these hairstylists and showing them that they have what it takes and having the patience to be there and encourage them to do the things that they thought they couldn't do. And then when they finally did a haircut on a client, and that client was just loved what they did and were so happy on how they saw themselves. Just, they loved it. And it lit me up, and it made me realize this is success. Success is helping others see themselves differently. Success is being a better human being by being kind. And that is not exclusive to just a few people. You don't have to wait for that opportunity to be kind. And so, reflecting back on all of my previous endeavors, I realized that there's one common thread in everything. And that was how I felt when I was able to help people see themselves differently, find the potential in people, and encourage them to go for the things that they thought they couldn't do. And then when they proved it, that they could do it to themselves, they would light up and get so excited. They saw themselves differently and they felt confident. And that little ripple in this vast ocean of this human experience created a kindness, a legacy of kindness. And so to me, that actually is what success looks like. Success is about helping other people see themselves differently. It's like that Maya Angelou quote that I think Simon Sinek also says too. But people will forget, will forget what you do and who you are, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And I think that they will never forget how you made them feel about themselves when they didn't even believe in themselves, but you did. And that is something that I think you can take with you and you can also leave behind. And it continues on in other people. And people want to pay that forward, that feeling forward. So I want to ask you, what does success look like to you? And what ripple will you create today that will be this legacy of kindness that you can leave behind? If this resonated with you and you have a story to share, please share it in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Share this with others. Maybe together we can start creating ripples of kindness. Thank you so much for watching.